What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Jess the Total Package and Craig the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, WWE 2K24 ratings. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook and X at Our Wrestling Podcast. Hey guys, why are we doing 2K ratings? This is different. What's going on?
Because it's fun. And when you like the old Madden ratings and that kind of stuff, and you see, and we're so close to wrestling, and you see they've leaked some a little bit of WWE 2K24, but this came in kind of a text thread with all of us, and we saw one article. It's like Jess had a great idea, so let's do it.
It's your idea.
So there's
Stop it.
It was all Craig's idea. We all know this.
What little well, it's just idea to green light it. I had an idea and it was greenlit.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, so we can look at 2023 scores and see like the up and down and the limited information of this one. So I mean, we know there's some controversy already in the game with Brock Lesnar. They're scrambling to remove him. So he's in the game, but he's not going to be a playable character
like
apparently.
They should just do what they did with Michael Jordan for all those years before he gave his license. Remember, Dave, that NBA game we used to play at N64? And we knew there was a player, but he had the number 00 on Chicago. And he shot just like Jordan. Everything he did. He had the best stamina, speed. And we're like, that's fucking Jordan. But they couldn't call him Jordan. They should just have a prelim wrestler called like something, just Rick. But it's like all broad stats, the finishing moves to
X5. Brad Laser, but he's like super like jacked.
Yeah. He does the F5. Absolutely. He does all the moves.
Yeah, Paul Heyman still comes out with him.
So no Brock identity, no McMahon's on the game, as far as we know.
Come on, Dad.
Yeah, come on, Dad. Not even Shane or
bullshit.
Yeah, they're gone. Yeah. So, but it's interesting for so many reasons right now. It kind of parodies the what you guys are talking about, even especially with the collegiate games too. I know it's not too much of a parody, but it is. They're actually starting to pay every player a minimum of $600 for all these college games to have their likeness and their name attached to the game every year. That's like the minimum. I think some players are going to get more, obviously, because they can say no thank you if they're big enough names for collegiate sports.
Thank you.
But, so it's an interesting time for likeness. And
I'm glad you said that, Dave. I was thinking about that too with EA and like the NIL kind of deal in college sports, and like so at least that's a lot of money. $600 for every college kid, a squad of 50 guys every year. D1 schools every year. So it's like, and they can take it or not. But I think everyone wants to play themselves in college and college football games. So it's like I would hope for pretty good participation from that.
I
miss NCAA.
If you're not like a premier player, blue chip, whatever you want to call it, that's going to get millions of dollars for your likeness down the line, it would be cool to be able to play yourself in a video game like 20 years later. That'd be kind of sweet.
Fuck yeah!
Look, I'm in a video game.
I'm surprised we haven't done a video game episode because
where's Coco? Come on.
It should be 98.5, 98.5.
Right.
The only 0.5.
Yeah. Come on, you don't think the Brainbuster is the best move in video game wrestling?
I think also too, like video games are such a big part of our lives. Like I remember growing up, the WWF WrestleMania one where like the crosses would float across and Hogan would get the crosses and it would give him power. And was it like Bigelow Flames? Was Andre like fucking turkey or something, like turkey legs or some shit like that?
he would get like a chicken or something.
Yeah, or maybe that was Yokozuna in the WrestleMania.
I remember those. Yeah.
The early games, it didn't even have a fourth side of the ring. It was only 3 ropes.
Yeah, and then
you only had 6 people, 6 characters.
And then the non-branded games too. We had pro wrestling with Star, the Pink Star, and all that stuff. Man. That was just pro wrestling. Yeah, and then there was Tecmo World Wrestling, which Joe and I loved.
That was my favorite game.
Yeah, that was really fun. And then when the second system came out, you had like WrestleMania for Super Nintendo, and then I think it was on that was when the Royal Rumble came out.
Oh,
because remember, or maybe it was N64. No, it was that. It was Super Nintendo. The Royal Rumble came out.
Damn.
Remember, we would just
we were starting to cook.
we would stand on one side of the ring and feed it to each other, and then we would throw them out.
Toss over.
Yeah, and then we would just go at it in the end. It would always be us two at the finals because we just start going at it. That was really fun.
That was an absolute cheat code. Was
that Super Nintendo? Had to be Super Nintendo. Maybe it was Genesis. Maybe it was Sega Genesis though. It could have been Sega Genesis actually. That area, which was Super Nintendo, it's the same thing. I think it was on both. And then they had Monday Night Raw, which was an improvement on that model. Like, it's kind of like what. And then when you got to N64, you got into now we're in the hunt. N64 was NWO, WCW Revenge, WCW World Tour, then WrestleMania 2000, then No Mercy.
Yeah.
And No Mercy to me is still probably the best fucking game like that I've ever played.
WWF Royal Rumble was a professional game released for Super NES and Sega Genesis. So you had it on one of those consoles.
And it was around
when
there.
When was the first ladder match like capability that comes? That No Mercy?
It was either WrestleMania. It was either WrestleMania 2000 or No Mercy. I think it was on both. I know it's No Mercy because me, Cuz, and Adam, we used to murder each other. Like we go out for an hour. Like it'd be a goddamn hour. Like because nobody would lose. Like so it was crazy. Like yeah. So we could do. I don't remember if they had a ladder match on WrestleMania 2000, but definitely No Mercy.
Yeah. The WWF Super WrestleMania 92, WWF Raw 94, WWF Rage in the Cage 93, WWF WrestleMania 95.
So WrestleMania. WrestleMania was a little hybrid. It was different. Like the 2K games remind me of the controls kind of. I mean, now they're so advanced, but when the 2K series started, it was kind of reminiscent of No Mercy, where it's like you had a strong lockup, a weak lockup, and all that stuff. And then, but WrestleMania, the arcade game, was just that. It was an arcade game. It was a button masher. So that was where you see the videos going around now of like Shawn Michaels, behind the green screen. And they're like they're pretending someone's grabbing them, and they're selling, but no one's doing anything to them. That was for that game. It was the first like live caption where they got their whole likeness, like Yokozuna, Bret Hart, Undertaker.
Wow.
I can't remember who else was in there. Shawn and a couple others, and it was like their actual like likeness, and it was like kind of how they did Mortal Kombat. Remember how they did the whole freeze capture from Mortal Kombat? There was actually characters that played those roles. It was the same technology, and that was called WrestleMania, the arcade game. It started out on computer. My brothers and I would play that on PC all the time.
That's in '95. Yeah, WrestleMania, the arcade game. Yeah.
And then it came out, and then I think they did WWF in your house, like on Dreamcast or something, or one of the other weird platforms.
I gotta ask because I didn't even know this one existed. Did you guys play Super Brawl '94? WCW.
No, it was terrible. No. It was terrible. No, it was awful.
Was it bad?
Yeah, it was terrible.
But there was a couple of good indie games. WCW versus the World was one which had a whole bunch of. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, that was the original. The control set. THQ, I think, did it. I think THQ did it, and that was their game set. We had a strong lockup, a weak lockup, and then you pressed up or down to do a different move. Then that migrated to WCW NWO Revenge. That's the beginning where the truck driver's driving down the street and Sting's all like standing in the street or whatever. That was like the popular, and that game was huge. That game like changed everything. Then WrestleMania, THQ did WrestleMania. They signed with WWF, and they did WrestleMania 2000, and then they did No Mercy. So like the WCW versus the World Tour or whatever, like that was kind of the start of this. Ooh, like we have something here, and then they made it better with NWO, WCW Revenge, and then creator wrestlers in No Mercy was awesome. You could make WCW guys. They purposely had like Hall going like this, like in there, so you could totally make Hall if you want to. Like it was awesome. Like it was great.
That's awesome stuff, man. Love
it. It came a long way for folks that just started with the wrestling and Starman and all those like five guys, but even that was just so fun. And then,
and they also did for a long time on like the first PlayStation 2, it was like the Raw versus SmackDown series. I never was a fan of those. My old roommate Chris, you guys know him. We used to play. It was one of them. I think it was SmackDown Just Bring It. And it was for PlayStation 2, maybe, or 1.
Right.
And we would stay up all night trying to beat Undertaker's stupid streak. Like, because like you had to you had to win like a certain number of matches or whatever. Like, it was awesome. But like, other than that, like, I didn't really care for those games.
Yeah, the one you're talking about, Craig, with Starman, I actually still have that. I think we were all playing it just a few weeks ago when you guys were over here. I have all the old 8-bit, 16-bit games on the Switch, and that game is on there. Just the regular pro wrestling from NES. So... Still have it digitally.
And the 2K series, it's just like the Madden series, right? Like Madden sells millions of copies every year, and people still bash it. It's the same thing and all that. Like now the 2K series is getting that way, but the advancement of the 2K series is so fucking cool. This the one, not the one that's coming out, but the current one, last year's or whatever. The graphics are so fucking great. Like they're so good. So yeah, they had 1 year.
See it, oh, sorry, go ahead.
They had 1 year where it shit the bed. I want to say it was 18, Craig, or 19. Remember it got so bad, like, because it glitched. It was awful.
People fucking ripped on it.
Yeah.
I think that was a new engine where people were like, this is awful. Or they rushed it
and
then
last year's was like the revamp. Yeah, last year's was the revamp.
They'll promote 23 and 24 on WWE when you're watching a pay-per-view. And my wife's like, when did The Rock do that? I'm like, that's not The Rock. That's a video game. And she's like, that's not, they get fooled. Like if you just watch it briefly and you're not really staring at it, it looks pretty real, man. It's pretty impressive what they're putting on these games now. Like it's amazing.
Because they're working on the hair follicles. They're working on because the hair follicles used to be one piece that would move, and then they migrated that. Then there were strands. The crowd, you would always see like the same patch of like 30 people. Just repeated everywhere because they would all stand at the same times on opposite ends. Now they're starting to make everything like completely like separate and like individual. It's really crazy.
What was the technology that they would put on Hogan's head, when they were recording back in the day?
It was
bald.
It look
like he wasn't bald. I was wondering, like, do you get a Hogan that's bald and then a Hogan where they actually did the generation from like 20 years ago?
I don't think they've ever done that yet. They probably should. Like Thunder Lips. Why have they done?
They didn't do. They didn't. Have they done a 40 years of Hulkamania? I know that was this year. Have they done a Hulkamania thread in the 2K games?
I don't believe so.
Right?
It would all end terribly. No, I don't believe they have. I don't believe that at all.
I think the lack of sales probably put a stop to that.
They would skip big chunks of time, like just
yes. That's so funny.
What happened here? I don't know.
Nothing happened from 08 to 15.
Was Hogan on the 2023 list?
I didn't see him. He was on the Legends.
He was a legend a couple of times in 2023. Yeah, so they had an 02 Hogan, a Hogan, and then they had a Hollywood Hogan that was lower ranked than the other two. So yeah, pretty wild stuff. Oh man, well,
in and out like God, like they've had Honky a couple years, but they don't have him every year. There's a lot of some older wrestlers that they have. I don't know if they've ever had Coco. I don't think they've ever had.
No, I mean, they've had Jake on some games, but not recent, right? Jake the Snake.
I don't know, actually. I don't think they did. I don't think they've had Jake. Now that I think about it,
that's so weird. I wonder why that is.
Have they had Piper?
Come on, man.
I don't know. No, man.
They had to have had Piper. I mean, I know in the WCW games they did.
I'm Canadian, man.
Frap Brothers, man. Did he ever did he do a Legends deal towards the end?
I don't think so.
Seems like it seems like he wasn't in good shape with them.
No, man.
He passed before that.
No, man. All gone, man. They're all gone, man.
Look at this.
It's funny when it's funny when there was a reality show where Piper and
look at my dick, man.
Flair,
like stands up.
Piper and Flair on it, and Piper's trying to tell Flair, if you don't slow down, you're gonna die. And who died first? And Flair's still kicking.
And he goes, "You don't tell me.
Shut up! I drink because I do what I want." And Jess was referring to his little bit was referring to when Piper was on Bill Maher. They had a WCW wrestlers,
showed his hip.
And Bill Maher was kind of insulting them, and he stood up and he put his pants down. He's like, "Titanium hat,
I don't see any bruises on you now." Yeah.
Well, they show you.
Let me show you.
I'll show you something, pal.
That's right.
I love him so much. He's the best.
For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio, or watch our YouTube videos at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast? For Jazz Craig Butters and the O.W.P, we are signing off. Have a good one.